I think we can get started with our next session. Wish everybody a good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. And what I really find is most special for us to bring on stage a user of reusable packaging who's got direct experience in using reuse through their operations, developing systems, discovering new ways and benefits of reuse. It's that real world experience that best tells the story about the value of reusable packaging in a systems approach. And we're honored for Cummins Inc. to participate in a conversation to talk about their experiences and what they're doing as a company, not only to drive sustainability, but to really look at how reusable packaging becomes an integral part of their operations. My name is Tim Debus with the Reusable Packaging Association, and I'm really pleased to be joined here by Todd Farwell with Cummins Inc. For this discussion and to learn from Todd about Cummins' experience with reuse and see if we can get some insights directly in terms of the operation with these types of products here. So Todd, welcome. Thanks for taking the stage here and being a part of my questioning in terms of learning from you about your operations. Would you mind introducing yourself and Cummins?
Sure, can do. Todd Farwell, I'm the Global Packaging Director for Cummins. Been with Cummins about 3 years now. And Cummins is a company that started in 1919, and it's started out as a diesel engine manufacturer, one of the first. From that, we've grown into a leader in global power supply for diesel engines, also natural gas, and all of the parts and stuff that come along with that, like aftermarket treatment solutions, turbos, we got drivetrain, we got braking systems, and then we have all of the aftermarket operations to support that as well. We do have something called Destination Zero, where we're trying to get down to zero emissions. And in that, of course, we've got our emissions goals, but we've also got use our natural resources well, right? And so that's where the packaging piece comes in. And then finally, helping our communities deal with environmental issues is a third pillar of that.
Yeah, in 2019, Cummins introduced their vision called Planet 2050. And it's a phenomenal document. I recommend looking online about all the components associated with how Cummins is going to participate to a planet that they envision just 25 years from now. And it includes specific targets in material handling and source reduction, such as recycling and reuse of their packaging products. So much more. I don't want to do a disservice to it. It's an incredible vision that we're looking to implement. But there are also some benchmarks associated with measurements by 2030, let's say. Could you maybe introduce the Planet 2050 vision that you have and how the company is aligning to be able to achieve those goals?
Yeah, exactly. So the Planet 2050 program it's a set of aspirational targets for 2050. We've also got interim goals in 2040 and 2030 that we've got to meet. And so for my team and for my I own two of those goals. The one is reduce packaging waste related to manufacturing operations by 25%, and that's by 2030. And then this one's tough. It's we want to reduce or reuse as much single-use plastic associated with packaging. And you know, with the state of our recycling programs and stuff in the U.S. and that one's a little bit tougher to hit. But single-use plastics, we're going to try to design those out and then reuse what we do have. So my packaging team, we developed a returnable packaging program in 2022. So we're just about 2 years old to help address both of those. And it's been a great program to kind of start reducing some of those packaging wastes.
Yeah, I'm confident you're going to hit those more challenging goals, I think. They are for sure. We're going to dive into their specific use of reusable packaging in their operations. But we want to introduce it first with a video that is brand new, right? Just produced that we have to share. It's not the grand premiere, right? It's already been leaked out in the market, but yep, here it is.
At Cummins, we're investing in returnable packaging to improve quality, increase transportation density, and most importantly, to achieve our 2030 environmental goals on waste reduction.
In 2018, Cummins generated £145 million worth of waste. That's the equivalent of 135,000 6.7-litre mid-range engines. Almost every region is looking at legislation to reduce the amount of packaging waste or improve waste infrastructure.
The packaging team is committed to significantly reducing our packaging waste in support of our company's larger Planet 2050 goals. Currently, the individual projects that we run only reduce packaging waste by about 4 to 5 million pounds a year. That is why we need to implement this returnable packaging program to break that cycle.
Our teams looked at materials arriving into our facilities, and they found that over 50% of those had some type of expendable packaging. That's things like wood, corrugated materials, or single-use plastics. That number is even higher in our distribution centers that service the aftermarket.
We want to flip that script. It's got to be 75% of inbound material being in returnable packaging. And this program will help us manage that.
We are going to provide our suppliers with returnable packaging. They will use that to pack and deliver parts to our distribution centers and manufacturing facilities.
We're going to put in place a series of container management centers, or CMCs.
Container management centers are a very important element in our approach. They help us clean, repair, and get our returnable packaging back to our suppliers. All of our packaging assets, whether it's existing returnable packaging or new returnable packaging, will be tagged with RFID tags.
Those tags will be read by scanners that are placed at portals throughout Cummins plants and supplier locations. And this will be tracked through our returnable packaging operations team, providing that tracking and accountability to our stakeholders.
RPP is already serving operations here in North America and looking to expand that within the region. We're also working with suppliers to convert their product to come into returnables. That will go on for several years. Next, we're looking to serve Europe and the UK, and then following that, India and China.
Up until now, it's been a small team within the Global Logistics Group actually executing this program. Starting now, we need everyone's help. This is absolutely critical to meeting our Planet 2050 goals. And we have to make sure everybody's rowing in the same direction, because if we're not, we just aren't going to make those goals.
Well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, that is terrific. What I really like is it's transparent. You're like, yeah, we've got waste, we've got problems, but we're going to tackle them. We're going to solve them, and reusable packaging is one part of our tool in the toolkit to be able to address some of those bigger initiatives. The other is, you mentioned, Todd, is that we need help. We need to work. I'm assuming you meant the vendors and the suppliers and of course the downstream customers. When you look at reusable packaging, it really needs to pull together that value chain of whom you're working with from back and forward to make those really efficient and run. How do you feel that is being received in terms of reaching back to your suppliers and, of course, your customers receiving your finished goods?
Yeah. That's been quite the journey, is to understand all of our stakeholders, major and minor. Our suppliers, they're on the fence. They kind of liked the margins they got with their expendable packaging that they were sending into us. They got comfortable with that, and quite honestly, that's been a big piece of change management we've had to do. But for the most part, we got suppliers like Bosch, and Bosch said, "Hey, it's about time, Cummins. You're doing the right thing." So the more environmentally minded and kind of the people pushing this on their end, it's been great. Our internal stakeholders, they buy into our Planet 2050 goals for sure, but they are juggling many, many different priorities. And so we've had to really try to meet them where they're at. And we've we've got to make sure our goals align with their goals, and that we're able to I always tell my program team to be like water, meaning flow where we're wanted or where there's space. And so we try to generate a lot of pull from those stakeholders for our services. And, we've of course got our customers. Our customers are all for it. In fact, we're seeing a lot of pull in Europe. Our customers are demanding this, right? We've got to switch to returnable packaging. In the US, it's a little bit different. But for the most part, once people get that returnable packaging, they really like it because it does bring a lot of advantages.
Yeah, it's a discovery in a sense. I call it the aha moment, where once you're working with it, and then you can say, well, wait a minute, if I have this, then I can do that, which I never thought before. There is truly a discovery process associated with systems change, which is what it is. You're changing an entire system, whether it's a single use to reuse or linear to circular. Systems change is disruptive by nature. It's not going to be an overnight fix. It takes time and effort. And it's interesting when you talk about not just external stakeholders, but internal. You have to work on the internals with the different operations, because it may cost someone else's P&L money, but then someone else may be highly beneficial from their P&L. But if you tied together under one organization, then it's a win. So it really requires that teamwork, but then the corporate support as well. And I think your Planet 2050 helps put that guide in place.
Yeah, it really does. Also, there's a fund that accompanies being part of this 2050 plan. And so that's one of the unique things about Cummins I've found is they are literally putting their money where the mouth is. And so when we go for packaging funding or funding for our RFID solution, that's funded out of the corporate central program. And it's just been so great that I can go to an operation and say, hey, I've got free packaging, do you want it, right? And that changes the nature of the conversation quite often. So it's been fantastic for that. Now, when it comes to some of the expense costs, then we have a conversation with the P&L owners to say, hey, we're going to raise this up, but you're going to get this benefit.
Right. Yeah, years 3, there's no cost to packaging. We've already paid it off. So it is a future outlook on the return on investment that needs to be folded into a multi-phase P&L, I guess, for sure. Now, your video touched on this, and we got a peek. Can you give me an example of a particular product or parts that are being used in reusable packaging now, and walk us through a little bit from, say, a supplier into your operations? Just give us an example of what that looks like.
Yeah, and so it all ends and begins with our container management centers. Those are absolutely vital to our solution. And so there we repair, wash, inbound, outbound. It's like any other distribution operation, only it's packaging only. And the reason I said, hey, we've got to have these separate from other operations and logistics is because we all know in downtimes there's extra space and say, hey, come on in, operation, we'll take care of you. But then when the times get busy and space becomes constrained, they tend to kick packaging out of the building. So I want to make sure that we have our own space, that we operate the way we need to. Plus, when you're washing, it's a humid environment, and you don't want to mix that with your parts, right? So we do have those as separate operations, but we have portals at our suppliers. We have portals at our container management centers, and we have portals at our operations within Cummins. So we have the entire network mapped, and that is also another big thing too. So it goes empty from our container management center out to a supplier. Suppliers fill it up with material into a logistics operation or a plant, consume the material, and the packaging comes back to us. And I know exactly where it's at all times. I know all the bottlenecks. I take all the excuses for the supplier who wants to run a 9-month lot size instead of giving us what we actually need when we order it and store in our packaging. They can no longer do those kind of things. So it's been great to understand our entire supply chain.
So you had this idea, you had a plan, and then you implemented it. I want to look at that expression in terms of what maybe some 1 or 2 key takeaways or learnings that you say, okay, well, there's always going to be trial and error, and as I mentioned, continuous improvements with reusable packaging. But does anything stand out saying, gosh, we've learned significantly by head first diving in and making this plan a reality?
Yeah, I mean, we have about 1 million lessons learned. You know, I thought coming into Cummins, our CEO says, do this, right? And I thought, easy peasy, everybody's going to be on my side. That wasn't the case. So we had to convince everyone. In fact, it seems like sometimes that the lathe operator on the material, or, you know, at the manufacturing floor says, hey, I don't know about this. I need to be convinced. And we have to go and kind of stop and convince them. But have your change management plans, have your communications plans wired, right? And you've got to create an internal brand. That's another thing I took for granted. We need to make sure we are branded and our messaging was consistent, because in the beginning it was not. And now we're paying for it, right? So we have to go back, reconvince, continue to talk to people. The other thing too is make sure you've got a crack operations and program management team. You've got to have the best people you can on this, because it's dealing with ambiguity, it's dealing with shifting goalposts, it's dealing with delays, and you know what I call defeats all the time. And most companies are built not to handle that well, right? We handle growth well, we handle standard operations well. When something's new, you have to have special people to pull that off. And luckily, a lot of the people you saw in that video, really top-notch people. They're dealing with it extremely well, and we're gaining a lot of momentum.
Was there a tipping point when all of a sudden all of the trials, tribulations reached a level, maybe scale, where it allowed for that efficiency, and all of a sudden now your learnings translated into results?
Yeah, we're still building scale. I mean, we've got about 100,000 packaging units kind of tagged right now that we're actively tracking. That's a very small portion of what we got. We've got a lot of variation in our manufacturing facilities. So there's a lot of packaging SKUs out there we've got to get under management. But it took us about a year and a half, almost a year plus to get 4 suppliers brought on board.
Wow. And
that was painful. And it took forever. And now we're gaining that momentum. So we're going to have, in the last 6 months, we're going to have probably 30, 40 suppliers on board. Next year we'll have 100, 120. And we're just building that scale now. And scale is super important. The faster you can get to it, the better off you're going to be from a cost standpoint. And with us being so slow to ramp up over a year and a half, we've had a lot of people really question our efficacy in bringing this to life, but we're finally getting that scale. We're finally moving forward.
Oh, that's great. So we're talking with you on the other side, perhaps, and hopefully the streamlining and the buy-ins and the scale is going to drive those benefits. Yep. Beyond just meeting Planet 2055 goals of source reduction. You're really going to be able to operationally have a program that's driving value in other areas of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. When we implement returnable packaging, it's like a light bulb comes on and our stakeholders are like, oh, wow, there's transportation benefits, warehouse benefits, my plant's cleaner, I have less safety incidents, you name it. All your metrics improve when you get returnable packaging into place. And it's been awesome to see that revelation kind of come to fruition. You know, we also have people who don't like to stack our packaging. They like to vary from our packaging standards. But we're also seeing where standardization is driving things like automation, better material flow. All sorts of metrics improve once you bring this to life.
That's great. So it's well worth the pain points along the way, and of course, bright for the future as well. Congratulations with Cummins, won our Excellence Award this year. RPA gives out an award to a provider of a reuse system, and a user in this case. And Cummins, with their partner Surgair, won our Reusable System Award this year, largely with the asset management, the track and trace technology system that you guys put in place. Could you talk a little bit as a preview in terms of what exactly was the basis of that application for the award?
Yeah, so we're doing something a little bit different than others. We are actually putting portals and readers in at our suppliers. I had an experience at Caterpillar that we put in a tracking system. We didn't bother putting it in at the supplier, and that was really a huge mistake. We had a lot of lost data, and I wanted to complete that circuit here at Cummins to make sure we had that, and it's been well worth it. So a lot of it, you know, the Surge system is fantastic. We chose passive RFID for the most part. We use a little bit of their GPS solution as well in special use cases, but it's 2 tags per piece of packaging, and this is metal racking on down to the little plastic hand totes. And we're getting read rates in excess of 98%. A lot of time it's 99.9. And so just amazing results. When you think about RFID like 10, 12 years ago, oh no, not working. Now, the fidelity we're getting, the fact that it makes our receiving and shipping processes more automated, fantastic all the way around. And, you know, we picked the right partner in Surge as well. They're with us all the way. They are part of the program. They're part of the process. And so the project team we've got from them is going out, making it happen, and really helping to augment our small team.
I believe technology is one of the great trends that we have that's really at its infancy stage in the reusable packaging industry. And then when you layer on big data, artificial intelligence capability of taking that data into actionable decisions that you can make, really just getting started. It sounds like you've kind of set you paved the way to be able to start collecting that data, not only for the management of your assets, but to be able to share that data as far as location with suppliers and ultimately running a much more efficient program with your stakeholders. Are you starting to tap into that now?
We absolutely are. And so I always say that packaging is the single ubiquitous thing in your supply chain. Your material is always moving in a package. And if you have that package tracked and kind of live so you can see it in your system, you can gain efficiencies in your supply chain like no other. So I'm working with our transportation team. We're working on things like automatic receipt, automatic ship. We're starting to really pull this together to really have an overall impact on our supply chain that's bigger than, you know, the individual parts. And so really it's just been such a good thing to bring to light, and that technology to our other kind of organizations internally, that they've been able to really say, okay, there's power in knowledge, and they're saying why we put the portals at the suppliers, because, you know, I can tell if things are bottlenecked and I can react much faster.
Where do you see your reusable packaging program in a few years from now? Because you've had that tipping point, you're starting to scale. Your video talks about looking at different operations around the world, and it could happen much quicker, right? Because you basically are now hitting the ground running after establishing all the parameters of your program. Do you see it accelerating into other areas of your business?
It definitely is. So, you know, we started in North America because that's the biggest chunk of the waste we see in our manufacturing operations. And then with a lot of trial and error, like a ton. And then we've started in Europe just this year. And man, we're moving a lot faster. We learned so much. And then we're going to move it out to India, China, South America as well in the future. But we are just absolutely laser focused on 2030 goals. Those interim Planet 2050 goals, we've got to hit 2030, and that's at 25% reduction. And that equates to just about 71 to 75 million pounds of expendable packaging. That's a lot. And we got to eliminate that in the next 5 years. The single-use plastics piece too. We're doing something unique. We got advice not to do it, but we are tracking our internal dunnage as well. And so we've got, we're starting to look at that, experiment with it, and it is difficult, but we are going to look at our internal returnable dunnage, and that's going to come back to us, and that's also going to be in the RFID system as well. And that's, again, unique, but we've got to really turn as much of that single-use plastic internal dunnage into returnable, reusable, and we have to have that identified with that system.
So in pursuit of your Planet 2050 goals, sustainability goals, you're also seeing efficiency and performance and operational opportunities as well. And that's where they do go hand in hand with that investment, with that dedication, with the collaboration that you have in your supply chain. You're able to achieve both. Have your cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we like to think.
Okay,
Some of our stakeholders might disagree, but we are only focused purely on the waste reduction at this point. But all the other benefits are just coming to light, and so we're gaining more and more momentum on this program. And so, cake and eat it too. I don't know.
time.
Yeah, I think we got a fork in hand.
Yeah.
But we're getting there.
Outstanding. Well, we really appreciate you spending some time with us here and talking about your program. Having that insight is so valuable. Again, we're not modeling, we're not studying. This is real world experience, and it's great to have that testimony. And again, it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be an overnight success. It takes some work, but the ROI, both on the business operations and the environmental performance, can be there. And we wish you the best. We're certainly here to support you, and really thank you for sharing your thoughts and insights with our audience here.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.